Guys, what are you guys finding to be your biggest hurdle?
Time management.
Time management.
Trying to do all this, the classes, learn that loop.
Oh yeah. Training.
Yeah, that.
Good.
Time management.
Time management. Time management.
Time management and training, and just not, I gotta get to the point where I get to the transactions because of.
You'll get there. You'll get there. How about you in the back?
I would say just time, or time management. You know, working another job.
Okay.
That's like it's just
Okay, what's your other job?
I work at AV Cycle.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. What about you guys?
Time.
Time?
Same thing.
Time.
2 jobs.
2 jobs. So this is your third job?
No.
Second job. What's your other job?
Drive truck overnight.
Over the road. Okay.
Priorities.
School?
Yeah.
You're still in college?
Yeah.
Right on.
I
Good for you for being here.
have a merchandising job, and I turned down $4,000 worth of work this month because I've been so busy. But I just wrote contract number 5 in 4 weeks.
There you go.
Wow.
Rocking.
Mind you, I haven't been necessarily doing homework on this, turning in the,
That's okay.
but,
That's okay.
yeah.
You're putting ink on paper. That's the important part. That's the important part. So, like Sarah said, I'm the buyer's agent for Evan DeShong. I've been with Evan for 2015, January 2015. So 3.5, almost 4 years. He and I get along really, really well. We do business together very, very well. And as of September, I brought on Madison. She is my buyer's agent assistant. So she is basically assisting me in the things that I don't have time to do, to think about, she's my leverage. Yeah, we've got 3 other admin that do our other things, but she's my personal leverage, and she's going to help me grow my business in 2019. And that's super exciting. So today we were talking about make and receive offers. Who all's made an offer or received an offer so far?
Previous.
Okay? No? Not in the back? How are we doing?
Hi, sorry.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
today.
Yeah, you're good. What's your name?
Nadri. Nadri.
Nadri. Okay, great. Well, Nadri, I'm Austin. This is Madison. Welcome to the class. Yeah. Okay, so almost everyone, right? I just do the hands again. So you guys have made offers or received an offer. Made? No? Yes? Made? Yes? Yes? No? Okay, good. So we're close. That's the important part. We're close.
I got one waiting on my name, and
Okay.
the other one's moving.
We'll get there.
stuff out.
You'll get there. It'll be good. Okay, so let's get our head in the game. So the offer. So this, I don't know if you guys, I don't know, is yours the page 9? I'm on page 9. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to stay here for the lovely camera. I'm all about having a good time. If you're not having a good time, you're not in real estate, right? That's my personal opinion. Us as agents, if you're not door knocking and having a good time, well, no one has a super good time door knocking unless your name's Kevin Wages, but it's just me, right? So the whole thing about real estate, what's it about? It's about personal connections. Personal connections. This is very important in the offer process. So getting your head in the game. You've talked about leads. You've talked about appointments. You've talked about agreements, buyer's agency and listing agreements. How's everything gone so far in Ignite? Biggest takeaways have been?
Take it the second time.
Take it a second time.
I have picked up so much more this second time.
Good.
I think she's right on that. I think once, this is my first time taking this, I think if I take it again, I'll get a lot more out of it.
Loads of information.
That's what it is, just so much
It's
information.
like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a
You
fire
go
hose.
home
Welcome
and
to Keller Williams.
brain dead. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to Keller Williams. We've got so much training,
Yeah.
you have to do it twice. You have to do it twice.
Drown in information.
Yeah, that's the best part.
I
Okay.
think the 10-4 is my biggest aha. It's actually trying to do calls and contacts.
There is no try.
Well, okay.
It's a bulldog.
I know, it's okay. The biggest challenge is the mindset.
The mindset. The mindset, that's right. Your biggest hurdle is your drunk monkey, right? And the mind. Okay. So, biggest ahas were the 10-4. We're just coming through it the second time, but what through, what'd you learn from Chris? and session 8? Anything?
What was it?
That was 2 days ago. Chris was, I think agency, maybe, agreements? Find and show homes. Find and show homes, I'm sorry. So what'd you learn in find and show homes?
Got a preview,
Got a preview. Why is that important?
so you know what the market's like.
So you know what the market's at. Yes, you may not have buyers, you may not have sellers right now. You may have them too, but always be in homes. Whether you've got someone looking for something or not. Always, always, always be walking through homes. Vacant ones are easy. Just make sure that there's no security alarm, make sure that there's no special instructions, that there's no dog in the backyard. Those are the easy ones to go through. And you can walk through it at your own pace. I can get in and out of a home in 10 minutes. And that's a pretty sizable home. And I know where I'm at on that home. Whether I've got someone or whether I don't. That just helps me to be familiar with that particular home in this market. Okay? So, today we're talking about contracts. So, let's see, the offer. If you represent the buyer, your search has paid off. It's now time to make the offer. If you're representing the seller, congratulations. You've successfully marketed the home to a pool of buyers who are interested enough to make an offer. That's a good day. That's a great day. Now, questions about the contract itself. So, we're going to go into the process. So, the first part of this class, we're going to talk about the buying process. The second part, we're going to talk about the receiving process. And you say, why is a buyer's agent telling me about the receiving process? Well, Evan goes on vacation. Who do you think steps in? I do. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I do. I step in because it's important for us all to take a break. You got to have people in place so that you can take a break. Because as you're drinking from a fire hose, you're absorbing so much, you got to take a break, you got to disconnect. When I go on a vacation, an actual vacation, not just I'm going away for a weekend, my voicemail forwards to Evan. Any text messages I get forwarded to Evan. That takes care of it. Now, as an individual agent, what can you do? Well, guess what? You've got 7 other people, 8 other people in here. They're willing to help. Here's what's great about Keller Williams is that we're a big family, right? We're a great big family. So what you can do on vacations is you can say, hey, so-and-so, I need your help. I've got buyer A here and seller A here. Buyer A is looking, seller's on the market. Can you help me while I'm on vacation? Great. Thank you so much. That's very important. As business owners, you've got to grasp that idea. I know I'm talking about contracts and I've gone off on a tangent. You just have to bear with me. Okay? But that's really important. It really, really is. Because you've got to disconnect. You've got to spend time away. Okay? So, that's why I'm going to be talking about both sides of it. So, let's talk about it. Buyers make an offer. 2 things can happen. Well, really 3. They can accept, reject, or counter. Accept, reject, or counter. This isn't a lineal thing. It's not a offer, accept, offer, reject. It's a offer, accept, reject, or counter, bringing it back to the buyer. Okay? It can go in cycles.
Do they always have 3 days to respond? Do you have a
No, heck no. No, we'll talk about that when I'm going to actually pull up dot loop and we're going to kind of make an offer, if that would help. I'm a visual learner. Does that help you guys?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah?
fantastic.
That's how I learn the best. Yeah, there's material in here that we're going to go over, but I find that showing you what I do in an offer is probably the best tool that I can show you that you guys can learn off of. And I think that's the most important, right? Because you're here to learn, right? Yes, there's this book, and this is a great material. Like you said, you're learning more the second time than the first time. But I want to show you. I want to show you how it's supposed to look. Maybe you've got questions what it's supposed to look like. Maybe you say, why do you do it that way? Why is it that way? Or I did it this way, what do you think? Okay? Okay, if you go to page 13, checklist for preparing an offer. 13, really two things. You either need a pre-approval letter or proof of funds. Pre-approval or proof of funds. What's proof of funds for?
When they're paying tax.
Cash. Cash is king. We want that. If you ever have a cash buyer and they say, I'm not providing you any documentation stating that I have the cash,
Go find another.
push them a little bit harder. Okay, that's great. I appreciate that, and I understand that it's very personal to you. However, if we want to get an offer accepted as a cash purchase, what any seller and listing agent is going to tell me is, I need a proof of funds, or I'm not, or we're just going to reject it. Because that's only smart for them. I'm here as your buyer's agent to give you the best advice, give you the best suggestions in negotiations, and the strongest point of negotiation right now for you is to give me that proof of funds. After that conversation, they've said, nope, not going to provide it. Okay. Unless it's coming from another home. If they're selling, then buying, and all of their proceeds are going from one home to the next, there's no proof of funds to have. It's all in the home. And I just explain that to the listing agent when I make the offer. Okay? Next is pre-approval. Don't get your pre-approval letter right before you make an offer. Don't do that. Get it when you get agency. Also, don't get agency right before you make an offer. Who knows why? Anybody have a guess?
I'm anxious to hear because that's the phone call I just had, so.
Okay. Because you've done all that work and you've had no loyalty with that person. Buyer's agency is a loyalty agreement. Does that make sense?
No.
Buyer's agency is a loyalty agreement. Listen, I want to be loyal to you and I want you to be loyal to me. I'm going to be loyal to you by providing you the homes to go see. I want to be spending time with you, getting into these homes, making sure that we're looking at the right homes. This agency agreement just says that you're loyal to me, that you're not going to go around me. But guess what? I can show you anything and everything on the market. So why wouldn't you hire me? Why wouldn't you want to sign this? Don't get it right before you make the offer. Get it way before that. Get it in your first or second meeting. My rule is I'm going to show 1 to 2 homes before I get buyer's agency. If not, before I show any homes. Because that's the strongest way for me to represent them as their buyer's agent. Especially in negotiations, because I have now established my rapport and my expectations of how the offer process is going to happen long before we've even looked at any homes. So in my consultation, I go over those things. I go over what to expect in looking at homes, what to expect in writing an offer, what to expect in negotiating, and what to expect thereafter. Okay? It's important to set those expectations up front and early. Because then you as the agent have control. If you don't set those expectations until the day you're making an offer, that buyer's got you. I don't need you. See ya. Does that make sense? Does that clarify why you don't get it right before you make an offer? It's not just the loyalty, but it's the expectations. Because at this point, I've built enough trust and my rapport with them is so good that they're going to listen to me. If they want to make a lowball offer, that's great. Here's what's going to happen. If they want to make a full price offer, and I say no, here's where the offer needs to be. They then trust me.
Austin, you have something that you do call the consultation.
Yeah.
And so something that I always admire about what you do is that consultation. And I, being doing it for many, many years, always struggle with getting them, not what I'm going to say when I get them in there, but how do I get them to consultation? And you do a great job of that. So I think that would be good to share.
Sure. So, I mean, it's, how do I get people in? It's all about the conversation at hand and how I've met them. Are they a sign call? Are they an internet lead? More than likely, if it's an internet lead or a sign call, I'm going to meet them at the house that they called on. And that's my one home. Unusually, that home isn't the right home for them. I think I can count on one hand where a sign call or an internet lead actually purchased the home that I captured one. So what that conversation looks like with those kinds of people is we're going to pick apart. We're going to pick apart a home. Great. Here's what I see about a home. I go through the home very objectively. I go through it objectively, not subjectively. Objectively allows me to be non-biased. Yeah, those are our clients. This is the potential client. No, I'm not putting the home down. No, I'm not throwing the seller against the wall. No, I'm not throwing Evan underneath the bus. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to find buyers and sell homes. My purpose in this conversation with this particular client or buyer is, let's look at the good and the bads. What are the goods? What are the bads? The good is, this fits, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage home. The bads are, it's not in the area that you've talked about. As we've been walking through this home and I've been picking your brain about what you're looking for, I've almost done a mini consultation while we're walking through the home. That way, I'm listening. That's the most important thing when you're meeting with new people, right? Is just listen. Most people aren't going to listen. I've picked up more buyers by just repeating what they've said. That's pretty easy. And by listening to what they've said and listening to their needs, I then go for hey, why don't we go sit down and have a cup of coffee? Or why don't you come to my office and let's talk about in more detail what you're looking for. That's the easy way to capture someone like that. How else I get people in the office is, I bring them to the office. I may bring them, let's go grab a cup of coffee. Let's go grab lunch. Let's go grab dinner, whatever it is. Whatever time of day it is. Fit it however it needs. What's the needs of that particular person? They work 8 to 5. Great. Hey, let's grab coffee at 7:30. Great. Hey, you good to grab dinner at like 6? I'd love to take you out and talk about it. Yeah, that's expensive. I try not to do that because I'm cheap.
But he likes to eat.
But I do like to eat. Let me tell you. But, does that make sense? I know we're not on contracts quite yet.
I just wanted to come back to the pre-approval, because yes, I agree with the agency to get it, and don't wait for them to give you the pre-approval. So I've gotten like an agency, but sometimes when people work with an online or,
Rocket Mortgage.
lender,
Let's say Rocket Mortgage.
I can come up with but out of town lender,
Uh-huh.
and they're doing everything via email or phone calls with that person because there's no face-to-face. I found it's harder for them to even get their lender information and pre-approval letter to me because I want them more direct to hold that lender accountable to provide the information, and that's been a time issue.
Great. Have you considered using a local lender?
Yes, I offered that to him. Absolutely not. I'm staying with this one.
Fantastic. I would love nothing more if I could have his phone number and email.
Yeah.
Or hers, whatever that looks like.
But I just haven't done the paperwork that would allow me to have access to the lending. So,
Why?
because
What paperwork? TRID?
the closing disclosure, I can't remember the acronym.
TRID.
TRID, yeah.
Yeah. That's, I think that's in the new agency.
Yeah,
That's an agency. I'd have to look at it, but
anyways.
if you haven't built enough rapport with your client that they'll just give you that information, you need to work on that.
That's what I had to do is just.
You need to work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? 90% of the rapport that I build is in the consultation. And staying in curiosity. Staying curious. So tell me why. Why do you want to stay with him? Why do you want to stay with that lender up there, or out there, over there, down there?
Brainwashed.
Why do you want to stay there?
I did ask that question, and it's
You wanna
because
say?
I've talked with this person since last fall, or, well, this person works with veterans, and I want to use them because they support veterans.
Great. Okay, so I've got several other banks that do work with lenders that do work with veterans. Have you shopped it? Have you shopped your rates, making sure that you really have the best of the best? I know you've been working with them for a while, and certainly I'm not going to steer you. Certainly I'm not going to do that. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
If they're stuck on it, hey, we're using it.
they were stuff.
Yeah, we're going to use it. Great. I just need his information.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I can help the offer process. That way when we go make an offer, I've got all of his information, and we don't have to play this phone tag, because more than likely we're going to find a house at night, right? Because you work 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, loan officers don't typically work my hours. I just want it up front. I'm going to put it in my file. I'm not going to bug him. And that's your guy. I'm not going to bug him. I just need that paper. That's what I need. Also, what it's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to take a look at the pre-approval and see what it says. I don't always want my pre-approvals to have a number on them. Why is that?
Because the seller might look at it and say, well, they got a few more $1,000 to play with here.
Leverage.
That happened.
Leverage.
Okay.
It's leverage. Okay? Not always does that matter. For me, it really depends on the listing agent. Yes?
How do you get around that, though? Because,
What?
well, how do you ask the lenders to phrase it in such a way that it says, this person is qualified to buy this home they're making an offer on, but it doesn't say how much more they have in the bank to...
Sure, it depends on the lender. Each lender has different processes that they can do with their pre-approvals.
Okay.
Some banks will make a pre-approval specific to a home and leave it at that. Some banks will make it specific to a dollar amount. Some banks just say this person's pre-approved. That one's good.
So it doesn't mean that they can spend whatever?
No, sure doesn't. No, that's when you as the agent have to have a conversation with the
Right.
loan officer saying, hey, what's their budget? Okay? But also that's going to be in the interview or consultation or however you meet them. What's your budget? Great. Second question to a loan officer is, what's my payment look like?
Something that you need to always tell your buyer to ask for is to make sure the escrow's in there. I had to do a mutual release because we put the interest rate in, and my buyer had a good credit score, but he had new credit history. VA loan, they want to do a manual underwriting, so they charge him a percent higher, which brought the payment up. Then he had that extra $150 plus the escrow they hadn't originally told him, that made his payment over $500 more than he thought it was going to be. So he was like, there's just no way. He's like, I'm approved for it at a higher rate than we put in the contract, but I'm not comfortable with this. So we did a mutual release
Sure.
on it. And
Sure, again, that's
but
just
his
going to go
lender
back.
gave him what his payment was going to be, but they did not put the escrow in the payment. So that's something you need to make sure your buyer is aware of, even if they say they've been pre-approved, they have the pre-approval letter to know what the payment is.
Sure.
Is that good faith estimate?
Good faith estimate, we'll have all that information. That's just a conversation that you have to have with your loan officers, especially the ones that you don't know. Hey, I need to know what their closing costs, their prepaids, and their insurance is going to look like, roughly. I need to know all that information. I need to know that. I need to know what their total payment's going to look like. Ballpark me. That's all I need to know. Is it $900 or is it $700? If it's $900, great. I'm going to tell my buyer that, hey, it could be somewhere between $1,100 and $800. I've got a pretty good mortgage calculator on my phone. Carl's Mortgage Calculator.
You said,
Carl with a K.
okay.
Is that your app?
That's an app. It's not my app, but it's someone's app.
That's an app.
Carl's. It's Carl's. That's what I know.
Mortgage.
Carl's Mortgage Calculator. Put it in your phone. It's not exact, but it's dang close. So what you can do with it is you can go property value, how much they're putting down. You can also put in insurance and taxes. There's a little column that says monthly HOA. I just put in PMI if they have it. And roughly I put up about $100. Because I don't know what it's going to be. That's out of my scope. But hey, roughly this is what your payment's going to be. Now keep in mind, you need to talk to your loan officer about these things. Because guess what? You already know what the taxes are. We know that information. You guys know how to find that, right?
Yep.
It's on the MLS data sheet. As of last year. Or the year previous. And then, it'll show you what your payment is and it'll show you what your total payment is. That gives a good estimate. Okay.
On the insurance and PMI, what do you throw in?
Insurance depends on how big the house is and whatnot, but somewhere around $100 a month. If it's, I don't know,
200,000 or
150 and below. I don't know. I base it on, if it's my personal experience. So you may not have personal experience in that area, and that's where you need to get hooked up with a insurance agent. And let me tell you who's a good one. Adam McGrath, Liberty Mutual.
Do you have one that's good for investment properties?
Yes. It's with Shelter Insurance. Let me give you Adam's number first. Again, with Liberty Mutual. His number is, I don't have my phone updated. How do I find this? His work number is 417-893-0079. I'd write it on this board, but we'll see if you can read my handwriting. It's not terrible.
It's okay.
And then for investment properties, Matt Boatwright. (861-7747). Shelter. Okay? Tell both those guys that Austin hooked you up. Okay? That just helps me. Okay. Questions on pre-approvals and proof of funds? Clear as mud?
What's an example of a proof of funds?
We already talked about it. You should have showed up on time.
That's when it goes into underwriting and
Proof of what?
qualified if it's not.
Pre-qualified and pre-approval. Pre-qualified is the lesser of the two. You really want a pre-approval letter. However, it depends on the person and the bank that you're working with. I'm fine with pre-qualified letters, pre-qualified letters. But pre-approval is the more sturdy of the two. That doesn't mean that something can't go wrong. But pre-qualified is the lesser of the two.
So before you ever show a house, you tell them politely, show me the money?
For what? For a cash? For anything?
For anything, yeah.
Not necessarily. It depends on if I just met them. Yeah. We need to know what your budget is. Because here's why. I don't want to show you a home that's outside your budget.
Right.
You fall in love with it, and then come to find out that we can't make an offer on it. I'm here to protect your emotions. The home is going to sell itself. I'm here to protect and consult you. Does that make sense?
So you signed the buyer's agreement
Yes.
with them, and then you ask them, now let's get you qualified, let's get you.
Yeah, let's say they've already been to the bank. Yeah. And I usually don't go to just one bank. I'll give them 2 loan officers or 3. Again, I've been, one person said that I was steering at one point in my career. And I said, no, I'm not. And here's why. I give every person at least 2 loan officers. I never directly hook them up. I give the client the information. And I say, you need to make your decision based on who's right for you. Don't throw steering in my face. Also, in this particular case, I have been working with that client longer than this particular person had been. I said, no. Way back when, I gave him these 3 contacts. And I just followed up. That's all I did. But yes, I do try and get pre-approval or pre-qualified or proof of funds before I go show. Now, if it's proof of funds, I'm not necessarily going to hold out on that. They know what they've got, right? Unless I have got a funny feeling, hey, let's just go get that. Let's just get it. That way I've got it in my file. But proof of funds, pre-qualified and pre-approval letters, yeah, I do want those usually. Or I want some communication between me and the loan officer. Tell me, hey, yeah, we're good. Before I go spend my time, effort, and gas money driving people around or meeting people, opening doors. Okay, let's get in the meat of this. What do you say?
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
How do you get past their objections when they don't want to go to the bank? I mean, I spent all weekend last weekend showing properties and stuff. I got a buyer's agency from the guy, but I couldn't talk him into calling and getting his pre-approval.
What was his reasonings?
He didn't really give me one. He was just.
What were your questions?
Well, I asked him, like you said, I gave him the names of 2 different bankers that, can get pre-approval so I can have an idea of what price range to show him. He's like, no, I already told you what price range I'm looking at. We looked all weekend. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't make an offer unless I know what you're pre-approved for. He's like, but I got almost no debt. I make $150,000 a year. I'm fine. And he just everything I told him to go get pre-approval, go talk to a banker. I got objections from it. So, and I didn't know how to get past that.
Sure. If he's serious, I'm just throwing out, hey, if we're going to be serious about this, it's important to get that. Because what that allows us to do, Mr. Buyer, is, let's say that we find a house on the weekend. Let's say that it hit the market on Friday. We see it on Saturday. We don't have a pre-approval letter yet. We go ahead and just write an offer anyways. But there's a multiple offer situation. Our offer may be better, but what do you think the seller's going to choose? What would you do in that situation?
Well, that's right. Just go with guarantee.
You go with the guarantee.
I've got one right now that, thank goodness I've listened to these guys, because they're first time home buyers. They say, oh, I've got excellent credit, and they're in the process of getting approved. And when they pull the credit report, he's paid child support, but he's also got a check mark for his child support and collections. So that has to be resolved before underwriting will approve them. And so thank goodness I haven't shown them a house yet to start the process, because they'd be wanting to write an offer. And we're on week 3 trying to close it up.
And again, it goes back to expectations in the consultation. whenever you collect buyer's agency.
Okay.
My expectation for my buyers is to meet with their loan officer, whether that's on the phone or in person. You need to meet with them because they're going to be able to answer questions that I'm not going to be able to do. But also that's going to leverage me in negotiations for you. Because they're going to be able to answer the questions that I don't have. Like closing costs. What are those? Prepaids. What are those? I don't know what those are for you. To everyone, they're different. You may have no debt, and I commend you. Man, I'm jealous. That's awesome. And I'm glad you have a good income. And I know that's, those are great things. But for us to be successful in a transaction, I've got to have that letter. I've got to have at least the ball rolling. All it is a 15-minute conversation on the phone with my loan officer or a loan officer. 15 minutes. They'll kind of go through the application with you, the pre-qualifying application. Let's just make sure. They'll do a soft pull on your credit. They'll run your income. They'll say, yeah, you are pre-approved. I know you're pre-approved for that. But don't you want to know what your payment's going to be? Every buyer that I meet with, here's what I'm approved for. Here's what I want to spend. Here's what I want to pay. Here's where my payments. Let's find out what those payments look like. Because I'd hate to tell you that a $150,000 house is only going to cost you $750 a month. Come to find out, it's actually $1,100. Those are the questions that he's going to be able to answer, not me. I would move off of. You had said something about. I can't remember exactly what you said. I would just move off the fact that it's a disadvantage and put it back into their court as how, again, it's an advantage to have it and why it's an advantage to have that. It's only to your advantage. It's not going to hurt you. They don't bite, I promise. Some of them might do. Okay. So the other things you want to do is do a CMA. You got to know the market. Again, that's going to help you in previewing as well, right? You've been through that home and you look at a CMA and you say, hey, I remember that was on the market. Yeah, it looked good in photos, but boy, did it look rough when I got there. That's why it sold down here. Or, man, I can't believe they got that price for that. That was a great home. Why did it go $5,000 above list price? I bet they probably rolled in closing costs. Provide that information to your buyer so that they can make an educated decision. Review the tax records. You've got tax records on the data sheet. Make sure the property is still available. Let's get into the meat of it. What do you say we get into dot loop real quick? What do you say?
I have a question.
Yes.
Which CMA program do you use?
What do you mean program?
How do you run your CMA? Endurance Flex?
Whatever the middle one is in the Flex.
The CRS one?
No. There's a CR.
RP?
Nope, I don't do RPR. I do Flex. I do.
It's not the statistical, it's full, it's like a part.
It's a quick.
Yeah.
Is that Flex Quick? Flex Quick, okay.
No.
Where you enter the data?
Oh, you put me in showing up.
Sure.
I lived there for 5 years.
I'm so sorry.
I actually lived in Biola, makes it a little worse.
He's just kind of set it up for us.
Use selected. Quick.
Quick.
Next step. Download or view, however you want to do it. Sure. I give this to them. And this is going to be super random, but don't look at that. Look at the meetup, right? Original list price, $265.9. Currently on the market, $262. It is active. Been on the market for 457 days. Cumulative. Who knows the difference between cumulative and days on market?
It's when they had different listings, right?
Say that again?
They had different listings. They listed it with one agent and then changed it to another.
Or it expired and it hit again.
Okay.
How long does it take for a home to reset, to go back to zero and cumulative?
Is it 6 months?
60 days. Home has to be off the market for 60 days before cumulative will go back to zero. Okay?
So quick question.
Yes.
On this one, I was shown to do it the way where you select the subject property.
Sure.
So do you put your subject property on this version? Do you select it as one of the
I
items?
am. Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes. If I'm going to be 100% truthful with you, I don't always do this. I'm just going to tell them whether it's where it needs to be, because I just know where it needs to be at that point. I'll show them the other homes. I just may not print this off. Best standard of practice, though, is to give them something and keep it in a file. That way, if you ever run into appraisal problems, you can go back to this and say, whew, glad I didn't get rid of that. Okay? But the important part of this is all down here on the last page. I just like the overall. Overall, there's 7. Average list price, 202. Total square footage, average total is 1,500. List price, average, 133. Average sold price, obviously these are all active, so this doesn't show you. Average days on market, average cumulative days on market. Okay? That helps me saying if we've got true comparables, whether it's 1, whether it's 4, it's going to average it out. It's going to help. Does that make sense? That's how I handle the CMA.
So I'll meet with you after class. I need like 5 minutes.
Sure. Sounds good. Let's do it. Okay. So we're making an offer. I have a sample. Who knows what documents you need to have when you're making an offer? What documents?
Gotta have your buyer agreements first.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Buyer's agreements first. Yes. Pass that. Just for the offer.
See the referral one?
Huh?
The referral agreement, the referral.
Yep. Affiliated referral of business disclosure form.
Signed disclosures.
Signed disclosures.
Signed MLS sheet.
Why?
So that you can say, this is how it was advertised, and this is what my buyers knew and looked at whenever we made the offer.
Yep. They don't get attached to the contract any longer, though. That's probably a good practice to have. Just as signed off in the loop with a date stamp.
If it's a government loan, the government rider.
Government loan rider. Okay. What else?
Pre-approval letter.
Pre-approval letter. What else?
Earnest money?
Sometimes. Okay.
Broker disclosure.
Broker disclosure. That's in agency.
Um,
Affiliate referral, business disclosure or broker disclosure? Who said what? I didn't hear. Never mind. Go ahead.
The HUD, if it's FHA, like why you should get an inspection.
Yes. Difference between an appraisal and a home inspection.
Possibly the lead.
Lead-based paint disclosure. Yes. We're missing a key one.
Contract.
Contract. There we go. Okay. All right.
So I think someone said.
Okay.
We thought it was a trick question.
No. Okay. So, HSA warranty application.
Oh, yes.
and HSA, and home warranty rider as well. Okay? Let's get into the contract, which is
Sign and walk through.
and final walkthrough. Yeah, but you get that in there later.
Oh, it's,
Sample real estate contract. Okay. That is not. Forget it. We're gonna create a new loop. I'm
I
done
know
with it.
another reason to attach the MLS, because someone else, the Carrie Creator, told me this happened between when they changed the percentages on the commission, after it went under contract.
That's an ethical problem.
Yes, yes it is. But if you have a signed thing saying, you said 3%,
Yeah. For
then
sure.
you've got a leg to stand on when you argue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Who gets their agency signed in person? And who gets their agency signed in Dotloop?
Both.
Both. Okay, for this instance, let's just say that we have it in writing. We didn't do Dotloop or creating a new loop. This isn't a Dotloop class and you don't want me to teach a Dotloop class. Okay? But we're going to do this. We're going to change it to purchase. We're going to go to view details. We're going to come down here. The address is 123 North Main Street. It's in Springfield, well, 65809. County, green. Purchase price, 100,000. Add your people. Add yourself as a buyer's agent. John Smith, roll, buyer. You can put his email in. I'm not going to do that. Seller. Give me a seller name.
Jane Doe.
Jane. Okay, we're rocking with it. Jane Doe. Yep. And, I don't want to go. We'll just go with listing agent. I'm really original, let me tell you. Save it, go back. Templates. You can find all your templates in here, in Missouri Interactive Forms, and then you can create your own folders. For this, we've created buyers folders and sellers folders. Okay? Full of our templates. Okay? I'm just going to select out of this, just because I want to show you what all needs to be. Okay. For this home, let's say that it is a home that's on land and it has a septic tank. Okay?
Okay. You need to worry about it. Well, the septic.
Yeah, it's in the, that should be with the seller's disclosures. Okay, so by doing it that way, it's pre-filled everything. That saves me time, having to go back through and doing all that junk. Okay, again, we're on a septic. Included. Yes, it's advertised with a refrigerator. Is the refrigerator attached?
No.
Negatory. So what are we going to do? We're going to put in here. What are we going to put in here?
Refrigerator,
What else are we going to put in there?
uncover septic, but that would be.
Not in there.
another-
Nope.
no.
I always put per MLS number.
We can do it that way. Or what you can do is you can put refrigerator in kitchen to be included in sale at no extra value.
So that when they're asking for items, so the banks don't get funny about.
They do.
Right.
They
I'm
will.
saying that you put it
And
in there.
you just take it out later. But I want this involved. I'm terrible at spelling, so pardon me. Refrigerator. Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah, to be.
So this is the MLS, are you, like, for extra
Yeah, no extra
clarification,
cost.
is that what you mean?
Say that again.
So that's just, so like what I do is putting for MLS because it says MLS, but you're doing that because it's just, you wanna make extra clear what it is.
Yep, I want to be very specific. Because there may be a fridge in the garage and there may be a fridge in the basement. But I want the fridge in the kitchen. So I'm going to clarify. Refrigerator to be included at no extra value. Excluded. Leased things do not stay with the property. However, what I do in here is I'm going to put, and someone may teach you differently. They may teach you different. This is just what I do. Propane tank is leased not to be part of the propane tank is leased not to be part of the sales contract. However, it is to be left with the property.
And then they just negotiate how much propane's in there.
Yep, that's prorations. We'll get there. Okay, seller's concessions. Yeah, I need. If this is conventional financing, how much concessions can I ask for on a $100,000 house? 3%. How much is it if it's government? 6%. Need to know those things. So on conventional financing, the maximum amount that I can ask a seller to pay in concessions on conventional financing is 3% of the sales price. So for this, $3,000. Earnest money. I'm going to tell you.
You said government is 3%.
Government is 6%.
So it's FHA, USDA,
VA.
or FHA.
Yeah. So if you're, especially in the lower bracket of on the buy side, if you're purchasing a house at $75,000, 3% is not going to cover their closing costs. You have got to, as their agent and their advocate, let them know that they need to talk to their loan officer about what the difference is going to be. What did I do there?
You put it off on the loan officer instead.
Put it off on the loan officer. Not my job. Not my job. Put it off on the loan officer. Okay? So again, 3% on conventional, 6% on government. Earnest money. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't usually ever put it in. Unless I've got an old agent and an old seller. It's just the reality of it. Because it's an old deal. It's a good old system. However, if they ask for it, I'm open to it. Because what's it hurt? If my buyer walks away for a legitimate reason, I'm going to get that back. Because the seller doesn't have a leg to stand on.
What if they refuse to sign the mutual release?
Great, I'd love to have that conversation.
There was a newer agent, gray-haired beard, that he said he personally still, like, the state took his, because the guy wouldn't sign him.
Yeah, it sits there for a year, and the home gets tied up, and the buyer gets tied up. I put that in Jim's hands, not my hands. I've done my job. But if I do put earnest money, I put one of two options: $500 or $1,000. 500 or 1,000, no more, no less. Not 700, not 350, not 1,500.
Your reasoning for that?
Easy numbers, and it's something that most people can just pull out of a savings account and put in. Those are just the two numbers that I've always used. It establishes credibility if you need the credibility as a buyer. If you're in a multiple offer situation, yeah, I'll put earnest money in.
So here's a question. We bought a house in the spring before I got my license, and the realtor, and it wasn't an issue, but the realtor told us because that it was a higher priced home, and we're in a multiple offer situation, he had to put $10,000 earnest money. Does that seem
Very,
expensive to you?
very, very situational. Depends on the price bracket.
Okay.
It's very situational.
I was just curious, because then
Yeah.
I
If
talk to
it's-
other people, and they say, well, that's not necessarily in your best interest, because it could get tied up.
Sure, sure it could.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to get tied up.
That's a lot of money to get tied up. That's why I stick to 500 or 1,000. Now, if it's a new construction home and they're making changes to it, yeah, the builder's going to tell me what he needs. And usually it's non-refundable. So you better be dang sure that they're buying that house. Okay? So, for this instance, no earnest money. Okay. Escrow agent. This is only to be filled out if you have earnest money. Closing. I close at Hogan. You can close wherever you want. Technically, it's the buyer's choice. Most buyers don't have an option. Or don't care. Because they're naive. You can close wherever you want. That's just where I close.
I keep running into all these speaking sellers that are saying, this is where I'm using if you want to.
Great. The seller says that it's actually the listing agent.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
Title work has already been begun at this age.
Right.
fantastic. That's great. How much does it actually matter?
Yeah,
How much does it actually matter?
I've just gone with it each time.
Go with it, because I'm going to railroad you on something else. That's just what I'm going to do. Okay? Hogan, land title. Oh, my lands. Bless my heart. Okay, and then I label it. I close on Republic. And Springfield, and we're going to select a date. So let's just say they're closing at the end of the month.
Do you try to go 30, 45, or where do you try to put it that you don't have to do an extension?
Great question. That doesn't come from me. That comes from a loan officer.
Okay.
I'm not here to answer that question. That's a loan officer's job. I'm not getting paid to do their job. They're not getting paid to do mine. That's me calling, my loan officer and saying, hey, what date can you hit? And are you 100% positive you can hit it? Usually it's 30 to 45 days. I've got a loan officer that can close 1 in 3 weeks. So it's all about who you know and how you talk to them. But you have to ask that question.
So if you're in the evening trying to write a contract, how are you getting that info?
It's great. Talking to my loan officer. Texting.
Text them.
So by me establishing those relationships with my loan officers, they'll answer me at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Just a quick text. That's all I need. Hey, the Smiths found a home. Remember, they're a conventional financing. How much time do I need? 30 days. Great. Done. Is the home vacant or is it occupied? If it's vacant, I'm going to put 30 days. And I'm going to put on or before. Just so that everyone knows what that is. Yes, it's implied. Yes, it's implied. However, I put it in there so that the title company knows, the loan officer knows, the other side knows if they don't know that that's implied. But I put that in there so that everyone's on the same page. Sometimes you have to break things down and making an offer so simply that everyone understands it. Just have to break it down. Okay? So on or before. That way if they hit their date early, we can move in early. Now if it's an occupied home, I try and give them 35 to 40 days. That way they can have a week to go find their next house. But again, that's all about how you ask the questions. So when we've looked at the house, let's say this, we've looked at the house, we've gone through it a second time, I have now talked to the listing agent. My questions to the listing agent is, if it's occupied, do they have another home to purchase? Have they found another home to purchase? Where are they going? And what can you tell me about the home that I need to know? That's really my questions. broad, open-ended, and short to the point. In negotiations, the agent that talks the most loses. The agent that talks the most loses. I'm not going to sell you my buyer. Here's my offer and here's why. Because this is what the buyer wants to make. That's all anyone needs to know. This is their offer. Now you say, but it's the home of their dreams. They love it so much. They want it. We're in a multiple offer situation. Have the buyer write a letter. Heartstrings. Pull them. They work. Promise. Had to do that, I don't know, 2 or 3 times this year. It worked. I got it.
Is that something you submit to the listing agent?
Sure. Heck yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Hey, I just want to let you know that at the end of the offer, the buyer wrote a note to the seller. Would you share that with them? I greatly appreciate that. You know what that letter is all geared towards? Everything that the listing agent told me. Every single thing.
At the, when the seller workshop I went to Kansas City, they said to actually, at the end, put in, write in the contracts, see attached letter from buyer.
Sure.
So that way it actually becomes a part of the contract,
Sure.
the agent has to show it.
Yeah. Yeah, attach it. Absolutely. But yeah, pull on those heartstrings. As a buyer's agent, that's what I do. It's my job. Okay? Alright. This is not a contract class. Again, we're just going to go through this real quick. Appraisal. Yeah, it's conventional financing. We want that. I'm going to mark 30 days here. Why am I doing that?
Tied to closing.
Tied to closing. Thank you. Does everyone understand what that means?
No.
Appraisal. This is the appraisal. So if the appraisal comes in and it's short and we have a 30-day closing, this clause still allows me to get out of the contract if I need to.
So if it's a 45 days, you want to put 45 days because sometimes the appraisals don't come in.
Now I'm going to tell you, agents are getting smart and they're countering that.
Mm-hmm.
I had one counter me at five days because that's to get it's to get it ordered, and it must be ordered and it can't be paused. They countered me at 5 days. Just counter that right back. Okay. Conventional. Boom. Who has questions on this?
Get it from the lender.
Get it from the lender. So here's what I'm going to do. Loan them out. I know what they're putting down. I know it's a 5% conventional loan. 95. Boom. Done. Interest rate not to exceed. To be determined by loan officer.
That's what you put in there?
Yep. Not my job. I know they're getting a 30-year loan. I know it's fixed. That's what they need to know. Title and survey. What do you select here? And why?
Because that's what they said in contract.
It's the general. It's the general.
so that offers protection to your buyer.
It does. Yeah. So, C. Seller shall deliver to buyer a title commitment at seller's cost. To issue an owner's policy at buyer's cost.
Mm-hmm.
Commitment is the search, providing that it is free and clear to the new buyer. The
Insurance.
owner's policy is the insurance after closing, stating that it is, in fact, free and clear when you did purchase. And if it's not, you go back to the title company. It's not on you as the buyer. Okay? This is where you put your closing company.
Hey Austin, what do you do when people say, it wasn't my client, but I just had a transaction where the lady refused to buy title insurance?
Who?
It was, just a closing.
That was the buyer or the seller?
Buyer.
The buyer refused. What was the purpose of refusing to buy it?
I don't know, it was just,
Did you ask for closing costs and prepaids to be included?
no, it wasn't mine, I was the seller's agent. Buyer's agent.
Did she ask for closing costs and prepaids to be paid for?
Mm-mm.
No? She didn't want the extra cost.
Right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for her. Hopefully the title work was actually done correctly. Especially on land. Especially on land. Like not in a subdivision. Especially when you get out to where she works. That's Jennifer Grove, by the way. She is our commercial agent as well as our distressed properties agent on our team. She's pretty cool. You should talk to her. Okay. I'm going to skip through that because there's not a survey. Property data. I'm going to go ahead and explain this to my buyer and just put a 0. We've done our due diligence. We've been through the home twice. We've looked at the covenants. We've looked at all that stuff. Great. 0. Limitation. Here's how I explain that to a buyer. This protects you. This allows you to at least ask the seller to have something fixed. This also strengthens us in negotiations to make sure that when we send an offer, they know that we're not going to just walk away. We are going to provide an inspection report and a list for them to fix. Okay, here, 15 days for inspections. 5 days for a specialist report. Why do I put 15 and 5?
Because inspectors sometimes take a week or more to get out.
Can be, yep. Yep. So I put 15 in there because that just, again, leverages us more so than the seller. Gives us as much time to get as many inspections on whatever we need as possible. The extra 5 days is if I can't complete it. Okay. Usually I can. I rarely need that extension. What do I do here? Put 15. Why do I put 15 instead of 10? Because in the new contracts, this is a resolution period. That period used to just be for sellers. This is for both buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
They both have to come to terms within 15 days. Okay? That's important. Okay, moving down. Home warranty. Yeah, I'm going to ask for a home warranty. 95% of the homes that I make an offer on, I'm asking for a $500 home warranty. That's the basic plan, plus roof leaks. However, this one's on a well and septic. So this one I'm going to ask for a $590 home warranty. That covers basic, roof, well, and septic. All 4 things. Okay? $590. Yeah, we've got those. Great. Okay. Who knows the difference between contingency for sale and contingency for closing? No? Okay, great. Okay, so contingency for sale. I've got a buyer who wants to write a contingency for sale. You lose leverage when you write that offer. And here's why. What that is it's contingent upon their home being put under contract. It may be on the market, it may not be. But before they can purchase that home, it still has to sell. But it's not under contract at this point. Why is that something that you don't want your buyer to do? It's time, it's leverage. Leverage, leverage, leverage. If you're a listing agent and I submit to you a contingency for sale, you're going to say, well, how long has your home been on the market? 195 days. Or, it's not on the market yet. What are you going to do to my offer?
Deny.
You're not going to necessarily deny it, but you're going to bet your bottom that you're going to get full price. Because it's going to show up as active with contingency. You lose leverage. Let's go ahead and just put your house on the market. We know that we can find you a home. Contingency for closing. That's their home already being under contract.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
That's their home. Contingency for closing. That's
home?
the buyer.
Okay.
The buyer. The buyer's home, if they have to sell before they purchase. Right? This is their home being under contract already. Their existing home, existing property.
Okay, I'm confused between the two, I guess I'm.
Okay, look, so they've got a home, it's $100,000.
The buyer.
The buyer has a home. At this point, they're a seller. It's not on the market. They want to make an offer on a home, but they have to sell that home first. Or it's not pending first. Contingency for sale. They have a home, it's $100,000. It's pending. You've done your job. You've put it under contract. Now they need to go find something else. It's now contingent for closing.
Okay, of their home.
Of their
Because
home.
It's already under contract.
It's already under contract. It's already under contract.
But my question,
Yes.
so, you're the writer, so now you have a buyer.
Yes.
You just listed their house, it's under contract.
Yes.
And you go buy a house.
Yes.
So you're saying you need to put a contingency for closing?
Yes.
So do you lose leverage that way too?
No, you don't. Because all this one is a protection for your buyer, your new buyer. It protects them in this fashion. If their home doesn't close, they're not locked in to purchase the new home. That's only if they have to use, if they can't qualify for both homes. They may be able to qualify for both homes. But if they can't, it needs to be contingent. Whether it's contingent on sale or whether it's contingent on closing. If it's contingent on closing, once you agree to terms, it's pending. That new purchase, the new home that the buyer's found, goes pending on the market. It doesn't go active with contingency. Because at this point, usually, I'm making an offer where the seller's agent or the listing agent is going to tell me, or they're going to ask me, tell me about the buyer's home. Great, it's in the offer. You can look at it. What I will tell you is that the buyers of their home just had inspections. I expect those tomorrow. And from what the buyer's agent is telling me, it's pretty clean. I don't see it being a hiccup. You can look at price. You can tell me if you think that it's not going to appraise. It'll appraise. We'll get through it. All I've done there is I've communicated to the listing agent that you can look at the home. You can make a judgment for yourself. But as far as this buyer, they're going to buy this home. They're going to buy it. My offer's pretty solid. Okay? Okay.
So if it does, the contingency on closing, let's say that blows up,
Yep.
what does that do to the other contract?
What other contract? The new contract?
Yeah,
The new
house
home.
that you're wanting to buy.
Right.
Yours now blows up.
Yours now blows up. That either goes to active with contingency if they accept it, or your buyer's going to have to walk away. Or they're going to have to figure out other financing or a down payment or, whether they can carry both loans. Yeah. Okay. Other. Home warranty rider. Why do I attach that? Because I've asked for a $590 home warranty. Okay? For sake of time, we're going to speed through this. Special agreements. 1, remember, well and septic. Okay? Seller to provide full access to septic tank prior to inspections. In this contract, how it's written, it's the buyer's responsibility to uncover the lid. I don't want that liability, because I might have to pay someone to do it, and if they break it, that's on me. I want it on the seller. Seller to provide full access to the septic tank prior to inspections, or seller 2 have the septic tank lid fully uncovered for inspections. Whatever you want to write, however you want to put it, it just needs to be said. It needs to be put back on the seller. That's the way the old contracts were written, was that the seller was responsible to uncover. Okay?
Do you write anything to cover it back?
Nope. And I don't do that because what happens if there's a problem with the septic? What happens if it needs to be pumped and it's been covered back up? I would rather my buyer just go cover it up after they've closed, or if the seller wants to shovel it in, you can write that in on your inspections. Based on inspections. Yeah. Okay? Even if there's nothing wrong, you can still write that in inspections because it's part of the septic report.
Do you ever write that the house must appraise at or above purchase price?
It's already in there.
Yes.
It's already in there. Right?
Yeah, at the top, yes. I've had it where I had to put it the second time.
Shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to. But yeah, that covers it. That covers it. Okay, so we've written the offer. I'm not going to go over the rest of the documents with you just because of time. We're presenting. We're presenting the offer. Here's what I'm telling the listing agent. Here's my buyer. The offer is $100,000. They're asking for $3,000 in closing costs, prepaids, and inspections. $590 home warranty. Closing on or before the end of the month. They're pre-approved through AGCU. Letter is attached. Call me with questions. That is on the phone. That's also in an email. That's also in the email to them. And attach everything as a PDF when you send it. Dang it.
Yes.
It's so frustrating, especially KW to KW. Attach it as a PDF so I can put it in my loop. It just makes it so much easier, because then I have to log out, log in, log out. It's a process. Attach it as a PDF. Makes the world go round.
Thank you for saying that, because I've been learning that this last one.
Yep.
And it's very frustrating.
Yes.
Most of the times I had to save everything as a PDF to my computer and then move it over. And don't piece it together. My first contract was pieced together. I had the counter offer. I had one page of the contracts with the rejects. Oh, it was a pain in the butt. Don't piece it together.
What do you need, like all one scheme?
One long PDF.
Somebody
all
just
done.
did a bunch of documents.
They
You know that you can.
They did the last page of the contract, where they countered. They
Oh,
did
yeah.
the rest of it.
Yeah.
And they had just pieces, there was like 4 different things.
Other agents are just going to do that. I mean, other companies are just going to do it. They just are.
So
It's
I'm just telling
frustrating.
you guys not to.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
So you want each one a separate PDF?
No. What she's saying is she's saying that if I sent you an offer and you're sending me a counter offer back, you are only sending me back page 8 initial, and then a new counter offer, instead of sending you pages 1 through 8 and the counter offer.
Send me pages 1 through 8 and the counter offer.
Okay. So, questions on making an offer?
Yeah. You said price, prepays, home warranty costs, 30 days. What was the fifth thing in your call today?
They are pre-approved with name your bank, whoever. It's not contingent, or it is contingent.
When something's a rider, you just put it in the email with the contract, right?
Yep. And you can find those riders in the templates.
Same pre-approval letter, you just put it in the same email.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. When you send it, you'll come back here and you'll. Just click things and you can press share. Now, what are you going to send them? You're not going to send them inspection providers, affiliator, business disclosure. You're not going to send them those things. You're going to send them anything that pertains to the contract. Contract, seller's disclosures, home warranty rider, government financing rider, if there is one. The, I don't know what else they
Lead-based payment.
lead-based bank, yeah, seller's disclosures. Those things. Anything that pertains to the offer that you're making. Okay. So again, presenting an offer. Bullet pointed. Don't go on and on and on. The agent that talks the most loses. Hey, and by the way, our offer is tomorrow at 5.
So you choose the time yourself?
I usually do 24 hours.
Yourself?
Usually do 24 hours, unless it's a hot house. Then I'll do whatever time it needs to be. Yeah. If it's a hot house and I know there's multiple offers, I'll ask when the seller's presenting, and I'll make it for an hour after, or 30 minutes after. Because as my job as a buyer's agent is to protect the buyer and get the buyer the best that I can do. So the initial call to the listing agent is, hey, again, what can you tell me about the house? Is there anything that I need to know about it? I saw seller's disclosures. I don't have any questions on those. Tell me about your seller. Well, they're going blah, 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 blah. Great. Okay, so when do they expect to find blah, blah, blah? When do they expect to find that home? Well, I don't know. It's going to be pretty difficult. Or, we've already identified 2. That would be great. Perfect. The more questions you ask before you write the offer, the more ammunition you have when you're going to send the offer. So if they've made note that they're moving to Florida and they already have a house picked out, they're just waiting for a contract. Gotcha. Because what am I going to do? I'm going to put a short leash on everything. Short leash. And my negotiation strategy is going to be based on that home in Florida. Hey, just want to let you know that the offer came in. They are pre-approved. You've got until tomorrow at 5, whenever you need. This should get them to Florida. Great. Well, tell me what the offer is. It's in your email. Read through it. Get back to me. Don't go through everything. Bullet points. And be quiet. The agent that talks the most loses. Okay, ready to go to the seller side? Okay, we've made that offer. That offer came into us. The offer came into us. Now it's my turn as a listing agent.
And you say, you're crazy.
What?
I mean, the seller said, that's too cheap. I want to.
Whoa, hold on. We haven't talked to the seller yet. Haven't talked to the seller yet.
You send me the offer.
Oh, that's great. But you're not the seller. Hold on. Listen to this. We get the offer. I've reviewed it. I call the agent, the buyer's agent. Hey, tell me more about your buyer. How long have they been in the market? How long have they been looking? Have they made any other offers on homes? What's important to your buyer? What was that? What's important? What's important to your buyer? Closing date. Great. Thank you so much. You gotta, just like we did on a buy side, you've got to ask very open-ended questions. Okay. I've talked with the buyer's agent, and I find out that they've been in the market for quite some time. They submitted an offer to us, $5,000 under asking price, and they're asking for $3,000 of closing costs. They've been in the market for a while and they haven't written an offer. They like our home. That's good to know. Okay. I find that information out. Next step, call the seller or text the seller. Hey, guess what? We received an offer. When's a good time for you guys that we can have a conference call or meet in person? Tonight at 5? Or do you want to meet in the morning? Well, what is it? What's the offer? I haven't reviewed it yet. I want to make sure that I thoroughly go through it so that when we go through it together, I've got all the questions answered. So I don't know yet. Okay. Well, let's do tonight at 5. Great. What did I do there?
You stayed in control of the situation.
Stayed in control. If I give them any sort of information, all they're going to do is think about it until we talk. That's all they're going to do. They're going to ponder. They're going to stress. Your job as a listing agent is to protect them, just like it is on the buy side. Protect their emotions. Does that make sense? Don't give them the information over the phone on the first call. Set up another time. Whether it's 30 minutes from now, or whether it's this evening. Now, certainly that's circumstantial. My investor, I'm just going to tell him, here's where it's at. Here's the offer. He didn't care about the rest of it. I'm just going to send it to him and say, let me know what you think. Because he and I have got that rapport. If it's a traditional seller, it's a separate call. It's a separate call. Keeps you in control, keeps you leveraged as the professional. Okay? So now we meet with them, we call them, whatever it looks like. Hey, the offer is this. It's $100,000. I know that's low. I can't control what they make. I can only control how we respond. Yes, they are asking for $3,000 in closing costs. Guess what? They want to close at the end of the month. Burden is off your shoulders. Thank you. Okay, here's what I found out. They've been looking for a home for a long time. They have yet to make an offer on it, on anything. They like our home. My counsel to you is to honor it. Let's see what they say. We've been on the market for, let's just say 30 days. 30 days. And at 30 days, what are you supposed to do as a listing agent if your home hasn't procured an offer? Price reduction. So we've already talked about that. We've already talked about a price reduction. We've already got their mental side going. Knowing that they're going to do a price reduction, price improvement. So let's do this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Let's counter just above where we were going to drop it to and include those closing costs. What do you say? I think that's a great idea. Conversation back to the buyer's agent. Hey, here's our counter offer. It's $105,000. What did I say? It was $5,000. $103,000. But they will pay for $3,000 of your closing costs and provide your home warranty. And we can close it at the end of the month. I give you another 24 hours to think about it. Let me know. Again, it's a phone conversation with the other agent. You got to have those phone conversations. Don't just send it and say, hey, it's in your email. Too often, agents are getting hung up on texting. Too often, agents are getting hung up on just sending an offer and never calling the other agent. I can't tell you how frustrating that is. I want to know that I've received it or that they've received it. So I'm going to call them. Oh, I'm so glad you called. I didn't even see it. Look at your email. Hello. Okay? Have the phone conversation after you send it. Make sure that you make contact with that agent. I'm busy right now. Hey, no worries. there's an offer in your, or a counter offer in your email. Let me know if you have questions. Okay? What questions do you have on the sell side?
Is that like another 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just depends. And sometimes, depending on the situation, we may not put one in. We may put 24 hours. We may put 12 hours. We may put, I need an answer tonight.
And the clock hasn't started ticking yet
What?
on any of the dates until they come to an agreement, right?
That's the effective date, correct. The effective date is once we have signatures from both buyer and seller. Okay? So what questions on the sell side do you have? There's a lot more that I can go into if you want in the sell side. It's just
What happens if,
go into it if you
what
want.
happens if they let the offer expire? What happens then?
Sure, so that's up to the, you can kind of leave that up to the buyer itself. Right, so let's just say that I submit, I'm the buyer's agent, you're the seller's agent. I submit an offer to you, and I put it for 3 p.m. today. 3 p.m. comes and goes. Number one, I'm calling you at 3 o'clock. Asking, hey, just checking in, what's going on? Well, they're still thinking about it. Okay, great.
So just because it expires doesn't mean the contract's off, or the offer is void.
No. I mean, technically, yes. What will happen in the counteroffer is I'll ask the seller or the listing agent to put in something to the effect of all parties acknowledge that the initial expiration of offer is to be a date later than you actually responded. So if you respond to me at 4, you'll put in 4:30.
So initial expiration extended.
Not a day, but I mean, just put a time.
That was my next question. You also did the bold thing where you answered the question before I could ask.
What else?
Is it really common for people just to ignore those times? Because that's what I'm finding.
Can be. Was it Adam Grady? I think it was Adam Grady. It was Adam Grady who said that sometimes he'll test a buyer's agent. Are you really going to walk away? That's his strategy. If I don't respond to you by the expiration, are you really going to walk away? If you're not, I know where my counter is going to be. It's going to be a lot higher than what it was. But if you do walk away, now I got to earn it back.
My buyer, we went under contract with Adam this morning, and we didn't take his counter a couple days ago. Made an offer on another property, and they were less willing to negotiate. And my guy had his figure in his head, we were like 3,000 apart. So my guy says, okay, I'll come up 2,000 on the house with Adam. If the other guy, the seller will come down 1,000. And days are good, so.
Sometimes it just takes coming back. I would suggest always follow the dates and times of a contract.
So did you write a whole new contract for the one with Adam?
No, we did the extended, all parties will acknowledge that the last counteroffer has been extended out, and it was like 2.5 days later. That's why I was saying, if the necessary, I was gonna ask if it was necessary, and you brought it up and said it before.
For clarity, I probably would have written an entire new contract. For clarity purposes. Getting all the terms laid out to the specifics of them on one sheet. But that was fine too. that's just not how I would have done it.
I wondered if I should do that, and I just asked him, I said, so can we just do it at the counter? And he's like, yeah, we can do that. So I just wasn't sure, so
Yeah.
I wondered if that's why they just put that in there, because it was expired, and it would have been one of those things you could write a whole new contract.
Extends it. What you got?
Multiple offers,
Yes.
and representing the buyer, the seller does, the seller's agent or the seller accepts another offer, the obligation to go back to the people who were rejected and say, no, we are not accepting. You know, actually sending the paperwork saying reject.
Oh yeah, I asked for it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I asked for it. Absolutely, especially if it's an agent that I've got some grit with. If I've got some history with that, and this has happened before, I want it signed and I want it back in my email. Absolutely.
I called it in. Yeah. Didn't get it, but I called it in.
But no, I mean,
What is that document?
now technically after the expiration, yeah, the contract's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to know that my buyer's offer
Was rejected.
was presented.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I asked.
What'd you say?
What's that document called?
What?
The rejected document? Or
It's
is it
just-
your-
It's just signing. It's just that
Oh, it's
initially
just
saying
signing
rejected.
it back.
So in that case, like with that offer that I had and that we rejected it, I did have my buyer sign it, and I sent it to the agent before the time period. I said, hey, we just wanted to let you know that we sent you, that we declined to take your counter and we're moving on. And I sent you the document.
Yep.
Do I just archive it then? Do I do it withdrawn? Do I do it
What
in
is
my
it?
new dot loop? Do I just archive those, or what do I do with them?
Explain that again. I'm sorry. I'm not
Okay, so, we made an offer.
Yep.
On a house. Didn't get it, we went on, made another offer on another house.
Now you're back on the first house.
Now we're back in the first one, the one in the middle that we rejected.
Yep.
Do I, in my dot loop?
Yep.
Do I just archive it?
Should have been made in a separate folder.
It was.
Okay.
Actually, it was in a different loop, totally,
Okay.
because
Then what I would do?
learning.
Yep, no, that's great. That's probably good. I would label that loop as rejected offer, and that way you've got documentation of that transaction.
Okay.
Now you can archive it. Yes, you can absolutely archive it. But you know, if you ever needed to go back to that document, say, you know, for whatever reason, it's easier to find if it's not archived.
Okay.
Evan?
Well, I was just gonna say on the multiple offer situation, if you're on the listing side of it, you know, and you've got 3 different offers going in on it, I never respond to the other 2. If I send them to a highest and best, I never respond to the other 2 until I get the other one back in writing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do verbals.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will burn.
Mm-hmm.
So when you receive it back in writing, that's when you get your rejected initials.
I like that. This
Okay,
morning,
that's good.
I waited to send the rejection until I had the signed contract and had it sent back on to Greg.
It's common sense. It's not common sense, but it's common sense. Once you are in that situation,
I'm like,
it
I'm
then
just gonna
goes,
hold my-
oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So, I have a house for sale.
Yes.
I'm the listing agent, and I bring a buyer.
Okay? Dual agency.
Right. So how, you know the story of both buyers and seller.
Uh-huh. Yeah, dual agency.
So how do you, so the buyer's gonna ask the seller, they're gonna make an offer. How do you, can you work with both of them, being fair to both of them?
As long as agency was signed and dual agency was selected as the buyer or seller does agree to broker acting as dual agent, yeah, you can move forward. However, if it's not marked, you can't. You'd have to line strike it and redo it. Okay? So, how does that work? For Evan and I, that's different. We try and keep separate. However, we are both designated agents for both parties. So we're still dual agents. Okay. So, when it's dual agency, you have to do everything with honesty and integrity making sure that everything has been kept above board. Because you are in the spotlight when that's happening. So as far as a buyer and a seller, what you will do, you've got a buyer who's interested in making an offer on your home. What you're going to do is you're going to provide them the comparables. They've been through the home. You're going to answer any questions that they have. They're going to ask, what will they take? And you'll say, I'm sorry, I can't disclose that information. However, what I can show you is, here's what the market looks like in the area. Here are the comparables. Heavily rely on your comparables. In that situation, if it is just you, you may consider having them initial the comparables and keep those. Why would you do that?
To make sure that they know that you told them the right thing, that you are keeping everything straight, you know.
That way, if anyone ever comes back to you and says, you forced me into this.
Right.
No. Remember, here's the comparables that we looked at. This is the offer that you wanted to submit. This is the offer that you accepted. You have to protect yourself.
I have a question.
Yes.
So on the buyer's side, I try to look up how much they paid for it, what the mortgage is and stuff on the county records. Is that something, if you're doing dual agency, that you can still provide and say this is what the county records show?
County records, you can provide public information.
That's what I thought. So I could give it to my buyer for my sellers.
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. I thought I could.
However, I'd never give someone what they're paying for the home. I know all I would rely on is what they've paid for the home.
Well, in the case, I have a listing. She's totally upside down. And I had an investor looking at the property. And I said, well, I can't tell you any specifics. I said, I can't disclose that. I said, this is county records. This will show you what she paid for it. You see that she's actually asking less than this.
Not exactly. County records don't tell them what they paid for.
And the one, it said the purchase price and the date, and it says.
It's a mortgage. That's a mortgage.
No, it showed mortgage, and it showed, because it was different amounts. A CRS. I can pull it up.
Interesting.
Be
very careful with that.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I want to,
I would put that due diligence on the buyer himself.
Okay.
All I would provide is, here is what was purchased.
Okay. Let's see. I've seen that several times, and the reason I know about it is the agent we worked with in the spring when we bought our personal home. He pulled up the stuff and says this shows the foreclosure, what they paid, and this is how much they loaned, separate amounts. I went back into, now that I have access, into the MLS, I can see the disclosed purchase price matched up with that.
But does that help you on dual agency? Okay, so on dual agency, you need to make sure that both parties know what you aren't going to do. And again, this goes into expectations that you've set up front. I'm not going to submit an offer and say this is what you're willing to pay. I'm not going to do that. I am also not going to provide you the seller's financial status, telling you that they'll accept an offer down here. We have to come to a win-win for both buyer and seller.
This is just the house that I'm doing. So this is exactly what the MLS says she paid. This is what she's paid down here. Her loan history. Anyway,
So from what I understood, this is what the house is sold for these different times, and it's matched up. Is that not necessarily correct?
No, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what I was saying was correct then.
I guess I don't understand.
So this is what, when she bought it, what she paid for.
Yes, this information isn't always there though.
Okay.
So I would
So-
rely back into Flex
Okay.
as to purchase. Because if it's
Because
not
I look-
disclosed, that price won't be there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that, but I meant in this case it was.
Yeah.
And she was, I said, I asked her how she felt and, about the situation. She was like, yeah, I'm upside down,
And sometimes you have to have those conversations.
And so I said, I told the potential buyer, I said, here's, this is what the tax records show. You can see, she's in a tight situation. So, but anyway, but then I went and sold a different house to her.
There you go.
I would have made a lot more because it would have been dual, but I took them another property I thought would be a better fit.
Sure. You still bought something. You still captured them. Okay, what about making and receiving offers? What other questions do you have? Make sure I covered everything.
I'll have a question. How many times will you counter back and forth?
As many times as it takes.
Okay.
Here's the deal. A buyer is going to buy where they're going to buy. And a seller is going to sell where they're going to sell. If they line up, great. If they don't, we move on.
And that's where they would actually reject the counter offer and so forth.
Now, at a certain point, you're going to get a feel from the other agent as to, this is it. This is my last one. Usually, it's a second or third. This is all I've got. Everything. This is all we can do. Everything. But I've countered, I think I've countered 6 or 7 times on a property before. That was fun. Yeah. What are struggles that you guys have faced?
That my first deal was for my parents. And
Well,
yeah.
that's your problem is.
Well, it wasn't my parents. My parents were willing to take the first counter offer, and I wasn't willing to let them because I just wasn't willing to let them.
Sure.
And I don't know if that sounds crazy, but I also had some finances in the mix.
Sure.
So I was just like, no, we can do better.
Sure.
Which we did.
Yeah. Now I hope you take that exact same gut to every other one of your clients. No, we can do better.
Well, that's kind of why I waited 2 days before I went back to Adam. I'm like, we could do a little bit better here.
Sure.
So what if the appraisal doesn't meet the offer price? Like what paperwork?
Then you're fine.
Yes, let's talk about this.
I've been there.
So, how about this one? Home hits the market. It is on the market for 3 days? 3 days. It's at the list price. My offer is here. Their counter offer to me is here. I counter back here. We get accepted. Appraisal comes in here. Appraisal comes in down here. What's required of us to have tough conversations?
You're either gonna tell the buyer they're gonna have to come up with cash on their own, or the seller to reduce the price, one or the other.
Sure.
It also depends on what kind of loan you've got too.
It also depends on what kind of loan you got. For this topic, let's talk about a conventional loan. They're putting 10% down. The difference is $17,000. Here to here. 17,000. Who's going to come up? Who's going to go down?
Whoever wants to get rid of the house or buy the house.
That's right. Tough conversations is this, is
Yeah.
whether you agree or not with that appraisal, we've got an appraisal in hand. Conversation needs to happen with the loan officer stating, hey, so I see that we've got a $17,000 difference. Is the appraiser...
Privately speaking, can the buyers go forward if they pay their own closing costs and prepays? This is an option.
Southern Hills. What's the difference between Brentwood South and Southern Hills? Lone Pine. Lone Pine. Ages of the homes are the same. Sizes of the homes are the same. Quality is the same. Schools are the same. But guess what? Southern Hills is viewed as a half step higher than Brentwood South. We learned that the hard way.
Do you ever provide, I just sold a house in Brentwood South, personal, and we were afraid it wouldn't appraise out. We looked up comps, we gave them to the appraiser, and it appraised. We sold it for $5,000 more than the real estate agents thought we could sell it for.
I would be very careful. Were you an agent?
No, for sale by owner.
Okay, yeah. As an agent, I would be very bold in telling you don't talk to the appraiser unless they call you.
Okay.
Go through the loan officer.
Okay.
2015?
I was wondering about that.
2015?
August.
August 2015, they started getting graded at a different level. The appraisers started getting graded at a different level. They cannot be influenced in the initial appraisal. When you submit secondary comparables, it has to go through the loan officer. You cannot call that appraiser directly unless the loan officer has talked with the appraiser and the appraiser has given the okay.
Good to know.
Initially, you're not allowed to talk to the appraiser. But you can afterwards, after he's done.
You still should not talk with him unless the loan officer has talked with him and he is okay with discussion.
Buyer side.
On the buyer side. I'm talking about buy side.
Okay.
Seller, he's calling you to get in the home.
Right.
Then what do you do when you get a phone call? Huh?
I call them.
You call him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I've learned over the years, and I've taught Austin and Kevin this, is I put about most of the appraisers are in my phone. Just like a lot of agents are in my phone. If a person is called by their first name when I pick up the phone, there's an instant connection. So it helps you in sales, helps you in negotiations, and it certainly helps you with appraisers. And I tell the girls, we're there to serve those appraisers. I know that you're busy doing everything else that we're doing under contract close or listings or whatever, but when an appraiser calls, pause, take care of them, serve them. That's the message I want to those appraisers, because I want to encourage a healthy relationship. So when I do call Bruce, I call Jay, I call Kathy, whatever, you know, I say, hey, Kathy, so I got this appraisal back from your office on 123 Main Street. So, as you know, value is short. Help me understand your thoughts. I don't go out attacking them. I don't, you know, I respect their profession. Well, then, you know, this is what I thought. You know, these are my thoughts. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. You know, would you be open-minded to a few more comparisons? If you can find them, I'll look at them. Okay? That's all I ask for, Ken. You know, and that takes some time to get that that respect and so on and so forth, but that respect can start from day one with agents if they follow that law. And we save a lot of them. I don't get challenged on too many, but as the market is correcting itself, 3 in the last.
I know that's what we're.
I've had
doing,
2.
is that-
I've had 2 in the last couple weeks.
You had 2, did I have 1?
I think so.
I think they were all on the buy side, weren't they?
I'm only at 2.
So you're calling from the seller side, trying to save the deal.
So we've only had 2. If you haven't had one, I've only had 2.
Yeah, I may have had 1.
So from the.
Well, we don't miss homes by 17 grand.
No.
Right.
I was just talking with the loan officer. I was like, man, you know me. I don't miss this. What's up? Because that's what they're saying. They're saying that Southern Hills is just different.
Austin, you were right too, because when you made your initial offer, you were a lot closer
You were
to that
205.
appraisal. Yeah.
205 and 5. Appraisal came in at 198.
Yeah.
And Brandon?
You were a lot closer than what the listing agent was.
Oh yeah, the listing agent started off at 220. I think.
Yeah.
220. And okay, so how that conversation went, and I want to teach you this. And on the buy side, I want you to know how this works. In the initial part of it, I'm trying to do everything that I can to save it. Getting new comparables, asking for secondary appraisals, talking with the listing agent, talking with the loan officer. What I did next is very interesting. It was this: I had a conversation with the seller or the listing agent. I said, we would be willing to do a second appraisal. But if it doesn't come up, by $17,000 or whatever, is your seller willing to sell? Is your seller willing to sell? Let me get back to you. He got back to me and said, yeah, what we'll do is if you guys are willing to do a secondary appraisal, we'll take the higher of the 2. Went back to my buyer. My buyer said, great, what happens if it comes in at 212? The seller challenged us to say, but you have to pay your own closing costs. My buyer goes, what happens if it comes back at 212? And now I'm paying my own closing costs. I said, that's great. I'm going to go back with that. All I did is I went back to the listing agent and said, if they're willing to accept a 198 as a floor, how about we just cut our losses here and say that the buyer is willing to pay their own closing costs and that we purchased the home at 198?
Follow me? That's awesome. That was a great strategy.
I'm on your side. Wait a second. If your seller is willing to sell, and that being a floor, why don't we just get it done?
Then you took the price back up to 212.
No.
Okay, then
So you never did the second.
I never did the second appraisal.
You just got.
Okay, but your negotiation there was to offer to pay.
Closing costs. My buyer paid an extra total. They came to closing with an extra $3,000 that they had to pay. However, their payment is based on 198 versus 215.
So they were happy, your buyers.
Oh, for sure. They had to bring more money up front, but
Yeah, but they got a better deal.
what did I just do? I protected my buyer.
Was that your initial strategy, or were you genuine in the second appraisal?
Oh, of course. I'm always genuine. I always want it to work.
But then you
But you gotta understand my desire is to protect my client. Yes, if they are gonna be willing to do a second appraisal, yeah, my guy's willing. And I mean that.
Yeah.
But let's just throw that out. Let's just say that, hey, they are willing to sell at 198. Why are we fighting this anymore? Why are we going to push closing off? Why would we do that? Let's just accept it and move on.
Did you recognize that immediately? Did you be like, oh, hang on, I know they're going to...
Yes.
This is a card that I didn't quite see quite clearly at first. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you have to understand that the other agent that I dealt with Bless his heart. I'm just going to leave it at that.
New? Or they doing it?
No. That's the scary
I
part.
was gonna say, don't discriminate against us, new agents.
Huh?
Say, don't discriminate against us.
He's a broker.
Oh,
He's a broker and he owns his own company.
this is new.
And it was rough from the beginning. Rough from the beginning. And we knew that going into it. I told the buyer up front. I had conversations. I had to explain the contract. I had to explain the contract to him when I presented. Now, I told you the agent that talks the most loses. But in this instance, if I didn't talk the most, I wasn't going to get it. Because he wasn't going to understand. He didn't understand the two contingencies. He wanted to put a kick-out clause in a contingency for closing. You don't put a kick-out clause in a contingency for closing. There isn't a slot for it. He said, I can't even remember. I had my wife in the car. We were driving back from Kansas City. Got off the phone. She goes, I think I knew more about contracts than he did. People, I'm going to tell you, know your contract. Know your contract. Because in this case, I won for my buyer.
So your buyer, they reduced the price basically 14,000 out of the 17, and the buyer just made the balance 3,000 and paying his own closing costs, which was initially a seller's concession or something. I just want to make sure I understood the logic.
Yeah. But don't let me fool you in saying that I wasn't stressed through that entire process. 17 grand? What do you mean 17 grand? They close on the home they live in 2 weeks. What am I going to do?
Because I get it where it came back low on
Sure.
my buyer. And fortunately, the listing agent just saw it for what it is and said, okay, we'll cut the price.
Sure.
Let's just get it sold.
Yeah.
And so, but then one thing of that though is then we had to do the document that our initial commission estimate, because the purchase price was less, that our commission was less because it was based on the lower purchase price.
Yeah, and that's happened too. I mean, I had another one. Came in $7,000 under purchase price. Buyer was done fiddling with the seller. I'm just going to pay it. I said, I do not advise you to do that. You're already taking a loan out to pay the rest of your closing costs. I don't advise you to do that. I think that's not a good decision. I'm going to back you up in whatever decision you make, but my professional advice and counsel to you is to walk away. I will find you a different home. Nope, I want it. Okay. 3 years ago, had one that was 25 grand. A pool got, was it $5,000 for that pool? And $5,000, what's their names? People that moved out a week later. You know who I'm talking about. Stress, anxiety of the purchase. We were under contract on a home. Appraisal came in $25,000 less. Had a meeting with Evan, myself, and the loan officer discussing their options. They decided to pay the difference because the seller wasn't going to come down. Moved in on Friday, called me on Monday, said, I can't live here. I want to move out.
Yeah.
And he spent more money to sell it.
They lost in that deal. And again, the whole deal was that was their forever home. That was their forever home. The appraiser gave, it was a unique property. Springfield address, Stratford Schools. 4 acres, wooded. Had a shop, had a pool. Home was 2,000 square feet. Multiple offer situation. And then one came in $25,000 short. Appraiser wouldn't look at anything to make any changes. They tried. They're just like, none of the stuff that you're submitting makes sense. Okay. Buyer moved forward anyways. Their anxiety level rose so much that they canceled their bridge loan and moved back to their other home. And we sold that again. At a reduced rate. At a reduced sales price from where they purchased it, right?
So were they just afraid of carrying both houses for too long?
No, we had their house like on the market. I think it was on the market, if I remember right. But that's just an example of you've got to make sure that when you communicate to your buyer or client that you are giving them the best advice and running each and every scenario by them. They told us that they wanted to move to the country and they never wanted to look back. We got them to the country. I never want to live in the country. I want to move back. Whoa. You just spent an extra $25,000 or whatever $1,000 to buy this house. Are you sure? I will die from an anxiety attack. Okay.
How's your relationship with those clients? Like, are they still back?
Referred his parents to us.
Okay. Because I mean, that has to be a tricky situation to navigate through to keep everybody,
That was tricky.
That was
In being in LA, when they resold it, agents called me saying, agents closed on it, why did you sell it in 3 days? Well,
It was.
It's a hot market.
Values are rising.
Haven't put it on the market for more than they purchased it for. Because that's what we believed in. That's what we believed in. Our opinion was different than the opinion of the appraiser. Guess what? You're allowed to have a different opinion. I still don't believe this is the appraised value of that home.
How long ago was it?
They closed last week.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
So how do you
So we're
change
still
the
at the
amount?
experience.
How did you change the amount for the people? Is that
Paperwork.
like a counter offer?
Contract amendment.
Contract.
Or amendment to the contract.
Depends,
Is that the bottom one?
That one. Let me show you. Oh, the class is over, by the way. It's 3:17. If you guys need to go, I'm just here jabbing.
You're not saying you run for once.
Okay. Right here. So, right here. Purchase price changed from amount to amount. Contract is further amended as all parties acknowledge buyer is now paying their own closing costs, prepaids, and inspections.
And it's also the one.
Still got a home warranty out of the deal, just throwing that out there.
But that's also where you would extend the closing date if necessary, is that same form.
Yeah. Any changes that you make to a contract past its effective date, you have a legitimate contract. This is your form. Amendment to the real estate contract.
So it's a counter up until the effective date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will never use this form prior to a contract.
Okay.
What else?
You're good.
Thank you.
I appreciate the knowledge.
Appreciate you guys.
And
Thanks
it
for
wasn't
having
really
me.
dry.
I'm not a dry person. Is that Boo?
Real quick, I just want, you probably didn't go into inspection notices, and that's probably going to be a class.
That's a different class.
I
It's
think-
probably not for Ignite.
I think it'd be pretty important for you just to quickly touch on the buyer's agent responsibility in inspections.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll schedule one this afternoon.
So,
Per the inspection notice.
per the inspection,
143.
per not the inspection notice, it's per the contract. Per the contract. You as a buyer's agent, you get an inspection report back. And it says, specialist needed. It is your duty as a buyer's agent to provide a specialist report if you're asking for that to be repaired.
Okay, so
A
we
roof?
got-
Very important. And that is so important, guys, because that is really soft in our market right now. Buyer's agents are not doing that.
No, I've not done that because I know I can get away with it.
You get an LA that's, been around or gonna hold you accountable or whatever.
Let's just run the scenario. I'm a different agent. Okay? I'm a different agent. I submit, we get the inspection report back. It's lengthy. I submit, I don't get any other secondary opinions. I submit to Evan, I need all of these things fixed. What do you do?
So the first thing I'm gonna look at is an LA.
What did you do?
The first thing I'm gonna do is, and I'm gonna look at the report, and I'm gonna see if a specialist was noted in the buyer's inspection report. In other words, did a roofer, further evaluation needed by a roof specialist, something along those lines. And the second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the inspection notice and see if it was noted in there as well. Because if the buyer's agent put in there, further evaluation needed, for this, all I need is in one place. But in this particular case, they put it in both places. And, can you pull up my email?
Yeah.
I don't wanna show that person's name, I wouldn't do that.
Then I don't think that's probably smart for us to
Well,
pull up.
then, I'm not gonna show their name, but I'm gonna scroll up to where they can't see it.
It's on the board.
Well, I know that, but I mean,
Okay.
nobody can do that.
I don't know that I can do that without showing the name initially. As you pull it up.
Right, it's the email you received.
Cover up the.
Everybody
You
knows
want us
that.
all to turn around?
Yeah, no, because I'm not gonna do that to that person. Of course I would. But anyway, this was an agent that probably has 20 years on me and is an owner of a very large firm in the Springfield area. So they know their stuff. They did not submit to me the specialist report. So I just went back to contractually. I stayed, the motion stayed out of it when I respond and so on and so forth. And in that particular case, I just went back to the contract, stating that, as per the previously agreed to terms. Here, I'll read it to you.
And you're as the seller's agent.
I'm responding, yeah.
They asked for something to be fixed on the roof.
And the inspection report said a specialist must look at it.
Right.
In the inspection report. I just want, again, I have to know that.
I just want to read this to you. I think it's probably worth noting. Okay. So we offered them a credit, and she immediately challenged me to say, well, how did you arrive at this credit? The dollar amount. I'm like, well, hang on just a second. That's just the dollar amount that the sellers came up with, and they wanted to counter. So you didn't base it off the bid, and I'm like, well, it wasn't my obligation to do that. So my response was, they are not, and she sent over a mutual release. So she sent the inspection notice, we countered with a credit. She called me saying, hey, blah, 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 and I'm like, no, we're not doing that, and then she called me, and then she sent me a mutual release.
Can I read line 146 and 147?
Well, I'm going to read it right now.
Oh, okay.
After the review and consideration, the seller's update this evening, the seller's update as of this evening is they are not signing the mutual release and proceeding forward to closing on October 26, 2018, based on the following previously agreed to terms. Always take them back to what we've already agreed to. Section 7, inspection notice. A, line 143 to 145, no exercise 5-day specialist period. No specialist reports were submitted by buyer. B, line 147, specialist reports are the sole responsibility of the buyer, not the seller. C, line 147 to 148, buyers may submit only one inspection notice and furnish a copy to the seller of all relevant inspection reports and specialist reports. Your response to me this morning at 8:40 a.m. as an incoming call to me stated, quote, that you didn't have time, but you were willing to get the reports in the next few days, end quote, is outside the buyer's inspection period, which is not contractually compliant. Additionally, you stated that the buyer wanted that $8,000 to $10,000 credit, then quickly reduced it to $7,500 in the same conversation. Seller's inspection notice dated 10/13 is offering $5,000, which now stands at this point. So my point being is I was just very contractual, took it back to that, and it sent her scrambling. So, in that particular case, my seller said, okay, so what do you think we ought to do? I said, just hold it. I said, I've submitted an email, we're just going to hold and let silence do the heavy lifting. And sure enough, a day later, end of business day, we accept. And that buyer's agent paid $2,500 of her commission to make it right with the buyer. Because she knew she would have to go back to her buyer and say, I screwed up. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So, not always does that happen, and I didn't have a whole lot of leg to stand on, to be honest with you. Because it takes two parties to come to an agreement in order for that contingency to be waived, the inspection notice to be waived. But, by the grace of God, it worked. And so I got the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
And both buyer and seller found a win-win.
But I will tell you that buyer's agents are getting softer and softer and softer in that area. And as the market shifts, you're going to see LAs going back to those buyer's agents saying.
So you're saying if a specialist is required on a report, make sure you use your 5 days and get a report and submit it with your inspection notice. Otherwise, it could be void.
That's right. Unless you don't have to use your 5 days if you're inside your 10 or 15, whatever you negotiated.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what that 5 days is. She had a term that she didn't use, and that was 5 days. She said, well, I didn't have time. I said, you didn't even exercise your 5 days. That's already agreed to term. You follow me? So, but just, my point being is, be a good buyer's agent, get your specialists. Get them to go in there and get you a bid. If your guy says mold, if your guy says roof, and further evaluation needed, you better do that. You better do it. You're going to get caught. And you're going to be held accountable. And then you got to go back and eat crow with your clients. And if it goes sideways with the clients, it's misrepresentation on your part. And misrepresentation in the MREC, not cool. Okay? I'm just saying. Yeah, you laugh, but I'm telling you. I've danced with the MREC. And I had an audit of my property management company that was 2 years long.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so you don't jack with them. So just make sure you stay compliant.
All right, guys, what did you learn today?
You were good to give us scripts that then, and then.
They're real. They're real.
I'm gonna listen to this. I like how you said that you asked the buyer's agent, you asked the seller's agent questions, like, how long they'll be, if they made any other offers, that type of thing, to get a feel for negotiations. I do have another question for you. How often do you, offer, like, say in lieu of, things on the inspection, take so much off the price?
Rarely.
Rarely?
Yep, only because that, if something comes up to be higher than what we expected it to be, we don't have the funds for it, and at that point, I have no documentation to I mean, the biggest thing to me is, let's run the scenario. So we get a concession, $5,000, and my buyer's happy. Great. My